You couldn't think of another way other than to have Superman say, "Save Martha." What are you doing? Who does that? You would say in that situation, "Save my mom. Save my mom. My mom's in danger." You wouldn't say the name of your mom. Like, come on, no one does this. It was just ridiculous. Now, I believe one of the writers, based on what I heard, said that when you run out of ideas, you put Batman and Superman on the big screen and you make them fight. And the reason, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear that. The reason why the idea of that is because of the idea of putting Batman and Superman on a big screen is just an amazing premise. So that's one of the up. Let's start with the up here in the screenplay. The idea of having Batman and Superman fight is an amazing premise. But one of the ups in this particular screenplay is it's not just that you have Batman and Superman fighting. The idea of having Batman peed off at Superman because of what he saw in Man of Steel in his fight with Zod, taking out Metropolis, taking out all of these buildings. The idea of Batman being upset, quite peeved, if you will, at Superman, even though he was doing a good thing, that's a pretty cool premise. That's a pretty cool way to get Batman to go up against Superman. So I love the basic premise. And that is, I mean, it's Batman and Superman. So that's really, really cool. And I thought they did a really fine job crafting the society to be for or against Superman. This idea of this world that has been introduced to the Superman and what it is that humanity is struggling with in terms of having a savior like Superman, and should we have him? What are we going to do now that we know about him? You know, how much of saving ourselves should we do? And all of those very powerful and important questions. I really like the world that they crafted around the idea that Superman exists. And so you see not only Batman struggling with the existence of this alien, this powerful alien who is living amongst us. You also see the world, other regular people struggling with this idea. And the world itself was amazing. And yes, why my concern was put to rest. The concern, at least, of does this world feel like the same world of Man of Steel? And it does. It feels like the same world of Man of Steel. I mean, starting off with that opening shot, what happened in Man of Steel and Metropolis, getting Bruce Wayne's perspective was a really cool idea for the screenplay to include, because it really felt like, yep, this is the world of Man of Steel, and it pulled me in. That was really cool. Really, really amazing. And of course, I thought they did an amazing job by giving us a definitive winner, folks. Yes, that's right. The definitive winner is indeed Batman. Right? This is amazing because in the comics, you know, Batman has won several times against Superman, of course, with some caveats, if you will. But Batman is the man. And I love that they gave us a definitive winner in the screenplay. And that was really, really cool. That was the up. But boy, do I have some down. Listen, this is probably going to be a particularly long slice because I have quite a bit to say about the screenplay. That ain't good. Okay, man, I gave you the up. I had a lot of cool things that were good in the screenplay, but man, I have a lot of problems with the screenplay. And in fact, I have a lot of problems, but it's really under two major problems, two what I call umbrella problems. Okay. The first problem is the characters. The characters is the first umbrella problem that I have. And the second umbrella problem that I have is the plot. You got the characters and the plot. And underneath those two major problems within this particular screenplay, I have many problems, sub problems that really took away from my enjoyment in this movie. And I'm going to start with the first umbrella problem, and that would be the characters. And a lot of people forget that the characters is an element of the screenplay. When I am talking about the characters, I'm talking about the characters as they have been written. I'm not talking about the performances. I'll get into that slice later. But right now, I'm just talking about the writing of the actual characters that they give us in the screenplay. And the problems that I have with the characters, I'm going to start with Lex Luthor. I would have preferred the classic, or rather more classic Lex Luthor, the calm and collected, cool, calm and collected businessman who is just a genius, right? I would have preferred that version of Lex Luthor. But, to be honest, I'm actually not put off by the version of Lex Luthor that they gave us in terms of the idea of it, right? They wanted to give us a more quirky, a more young, but highly intelligent Lex Luthor. And so I'm fine that they wanted to give us a different type of Lex Luthor than the traditional Lex Luthor in the comics. But the problems that I had with Lex Luthor has nothing to do with the fact that it was different than the Lex Luthor in the comics. The problem that I had with Lex Luthor is that he was OP. And I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but it really bothered me. The problem with Lex Luthor in this movie is that they wrote Lex Luthor's character as overpowered in the arena of intelligence. Why was Lex Luthor intelligent? Well, because the screenplay says he needs to be. You know what I mean? Think about it. In the screenplay, Lex Luthor is just overly intelligent, and there is no rhyme or reason as to why he was intelligent, other than the screenplay needed him to be intelligent because they needed him to be a foil for the Batman and the Superman. And so they say, well, how do you do that? Lex Luthor is a normal human. Well, let's just make him overly intelligent, ridiculously intelligent. And yes, I use the word ridiculous because his intelligence was pretty ridiculous. And I start off with Lex Luthor because you will see that Lex Luthor's forced intelligence is actually the underlying problem through a lot of problems that I have within this screenplay. Lex Luthor is the one who discovered Batman's identity. It was Lex Luthor who discovered Superman's identity. It was Lex who discovered the kryptonite. And he knew where to find the kryptonite, and he actually acquired the kryptonite. It was Lex who knew what kryptonite was. I mean, I don't know how he knew what it was or why he would even think to know it, but somehow he knew what kryptonite was. Like, again, the screenplay doesn't give us anything that explains any of these things. It was Lex that not only discovered the identity of Batman, the identity of Superman, what is kryptonite. He discovered where kryptonite was. He acquired the kryptonite. He also discovered all of the members of what will become the Justice League. He discovered who Flash was. He discovered who Cyborg was. He discovered the identity of Wonder Woman. My goodness, folks, Lex Luthor he's basically God. I mean, you have him in the scene talking about man versus God, devils, and all of this other stuff that but my goodness, Lex, you're basically God. I mean, you're just omniscient. Because the screenplay doesn't give you any kind of connective tissue to show us Lex Luthor is intelligent. I'm a writer. I always talk about show versus tell. Well, think about it, guys. If you go back and watch the movie, if you really think about it, the screenplay tell you that Lex Luthor is intelligent. It doesn't really do much to show you he's intelligent. He just knows things. Oh, I know things. Sorry. But yes, he just knew a bunch of stuff. And my goodness, it really took away from the intelligence of the other characters. Because if you think about it, let me move on to my problems with Batman. Now, again, I'm not talking about Ben Affleck's performance as Batman. I'm talking about the actual character of Batman as he has been written. And if you think about it, the Batman that I know, the Batman that this movie presents to me is a Batman that he is the world's greatest detective. And you need him to be that way because this is a Batman that's supposed to stand alongside the great Wonder Woman and the great Superman. So you need a Batman that is more than capable and more than intelligent. But in this movie, Batman, he basically just copied Lex Luthor. Because of Lex Luthor's forced intelligence, the problem I have with the Batman character is that this is a Batman that needed to steal from Lex Luthor whether it's stealing information, whether it's stealing the kryptonite in order to actually do the things that Batman needs to do in this screenplay. It was completely ridiculous. If you think about it, he has a problem discovering that there's an alien race like Superman who crashed on Earth, who was raised right among us. So you think about the idea of Batman being upset with Superman, right? Because of, destroying the buildings and all of that stuff, right? And you see that there's a personal stake in, Batman. And by the way, I mean, the screenplay having Batman needing to be the one to tell his employees to get out of the building. I mean, they really, and honestly, this whole screenplay really treated people like they were dumb. And honestly, they treat the audience like they were dumb in many ways. But I mean, come on now. Boss, we gotta go. Boss says we need to get out. I mean, you think? Have you seen the destruction out the window? Right? Of course you need to get out. And the fact that they have Bruce Wayne needing to give them instruction, hey, everybody get out. Like, duh. That was just ridiculous. But anyway, the idea of Batman discovering Superman makes sense in terms of like, yes, he would naturally be searching for other things like Superman, for other alien species. So it makes so much more sense if Batman is the one who he himself discovered the other members of the Justice League. He discovered the Flash. He discovered Wonder Woman. If he discovered Cyborg, right? If he discovered Aquaman, it makes sense if Batman over the past 1.5 to 2 years that he's detectiving, right? That he's searching for other signs of life like Superman. It makes sense. That's what Batman would do. He would be, either to be, trying to recruit them or to destroy them as well. Like Lex Luthor discovered all of those things. And so now Batman needs to discover it through Lex and his information. Same thing with the kryptonite. If you want to show me that Batman has business standing alongside of Wonder Woman and Superman, you would need to show me Batman discovering the kryptonite, discovering what it is and where it is, and discovering the members of the Justice League. Like those kinds of things really enriches Batman's character. If you think about the actual character of Batman, he was kind of easily duped. I mean, look at Batman. He found out that the people who he was sending, checks to, that they weren't cashing the checks or something. I'm like, come on, Bruce Wayne / Batman. Come on. You don't know what's going on in your own company? Like it was, if you really think about it, Batman was basically easily duped. It was Batman who wasn't even motivated to go up against Superman. He was played by Lex Luthor. Again, Lex Luthor's force intelligence really took away from the other characters. And here's the thing. The other thing about Batman is they did not acknowledge that he was killing people. And if you saw the movie, he was straight blowing people up. I mean, Batman didn't have a regard for the criminal race. Not at all. And I'm okay to, I'm fine if you want to give me a Batman that kills people. My problem is like, I mean, you might want to really acknowledge, I mean, look, they had these passing conversations with him and Alfred, but that wasn't really enough. Like, you really need to acknowledge that, okay, you are actually killing people. And they didn't really lean into that as well as they could. And so that just made the Batman character that much more confusing to me. So that was one of the problems that I had about Batman. Again, he was easily duped. I'm not saying he was a dumb character. I'm just saying that because they gave all of these extra things to Lex Luthor that really made no sense, it would have made more sense if you gave that to Batman, that he discovered those things, because it would have came across a lot better. And here's the other thing. Superman / Clark Kent. There was little to weak dialogue throughout the entire film. I think somebody did a calculation or whatever, but it was very low percentage of the movie was Superman / Clark Kent giving words. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is Batman v Superman. I mean, you might want to give the title character of the movie, co-title character movie, a little bit more lines. And the dialogue that we got was pretty weak. He gives these like one-liners, and it's just like really wasn't that much of an impactful. You know what I mean? I'm coming off of Man of Steel, and I love them Man of Steel, so I'm of course going off of that. But still, yeah, It wasn't really a lot of dialogue, and the dialogue we got was pretty weak. And, here's the other thing. He just easily abandoned his moral code. If you think about it, the beginning of the movie shows Clark Kent looking at the news anchor and Batman branding people, because he was straight up branding people, right? And Superman is, on this, track, this news story to try to track down Batman and stop him. And in fact, led him all the way to the point where he says the bat is dead. Next time you see the signal, don't go to it. So he is definitely infuriated by Batman. Definitely infuriated by the fact that he was straight killing people, as I just said. But here's the thing. He finds out that his mom is in danger. And so what? Now all of a sudden you need to go convince him to help you? I have to convince him to help me. What is that? You were the one who had a problem with Batman. That has nothing to do with Lex Luthor. Now all of a sudden you want to be friends with Batman because you find that Lex was, quote, behind everything. Batman was brutally beating people and branding people. It wasn't Lex Luthor that was doing that. That was Batman. It was Batman that was doing that. It was Batman that you had the problem with. And so because Lex Luthor is behind everything and he has your mom kidnapped, all of a sudden you're just going to abandon your moral code? All of a sudden now you're friends with him? You go from saying, hey, I'm going to confront you, don't go to the signal next time you see it, to, hey, let's become best friends. I need you to help me. It was completely ridiculous. And in fact, why did you need him to help you? What did Batman do in the movie? If you think about it, I know who Batman is. I know he's awesome. But according to the movie, based on the Batman that they gave us, the character that they gave us, there's nothing that Batman did that showed that he could be trusted. Why in the world would Clark Kent / Superman trust Batman when the movie gave us nothing that showed the transition from him not only not trusting Batman in terms of him feeling like Batman was a criminal all the way to, I got to convince him to help me. Just made no sense. It was completely ridiculous. And Lois Lane, look, I love Lois Lane as a character. She is an empowered, awesome character who gets it done. She carries this presence of command with her. But in this movie, she was a damsel in distress. But I might count how many times she needed to be saved by Superman. First, at the beginning of the movie, over there when she got kidnapped by the drug lords or whatever. Later, after Lex pushed her off the building. And then later, when she is trapped in the water. I mean, it just over and over and over again, Lois Lane needed to be saved. She was essentially the plot device for Superman. Where's Lois's own character arc? And of course, they use Lois Lane for the Martha scene and all that stuff where she's the one to break the news to Batman that Martha is his mother. All of this stuff, it's like she's basically a plot device. What about her character arc? What about her as a character? She had an amazing character arc in Man of Steel. In this movie, nope, she's a damsel in distress. That leaves me with the Lois Lane being a plot device to the second major problem that I had with the screenplay. That is the plot. Let me go over the IMDb summary. Okay, there are 4 issues that I have with the plot. Here it is. Fearing the actions of Superman are left unchecked. What? Hold on. Wait a second. The actions of Superman? This movie, as I said, treats the audience and treats the people in the film as if they're dumb. Why is the gunfights, the explosions, all of these things that have nothing to do with Superman powers, why is those things considered actions of Superman? Right. And I get what they're talking about in terms of, him destroying the building and all of that stuff. But that was 18 months or 2 years ago from the beginning of the movie. Right. The main issues that we see in this particular movie that people have with Superman are stuff like the bullets, killing people and stuff. Like it makes no sense why anybody would even consider those actions to be actions of Superman. It's very obvious that Superman has nothing to do with those things. And so it again adds to the easily duped Batman because it's like, dude, what? You would know this. You would know that Superman has nothing to do with those things. But nevertheless, that's the plot of the movie. They want to convince us that the world is building tension with all of these random things going on. And these random things going on, somehow Superman is blamed for it. Yet Superman, there's no reason why he would be blamed for it. It makes no sense. Batman decides to take on the Man of Steel. That's the next thing. Because here's the thing. What we find out is that Batman and Superman were played by Lex Luthor. It was Lex who was behind making Batman and Bruce Wayne more angry at Superman, which I don't know how, but somehow he did, right? And then it was Lex who was behind making Superman more angry at Batman. That we find that Lex was behind everything. So the amazing rush that I feel about Batman going up against Superman on his own, this regular human, he wants to take on Superman, the Man of Steel. Like, that is awesome. Well, now that you told me that Lex was behind everything, that he was playing his emotions, making sure that those checks don't get, cashed and whatever it was that he was doing there. I'm like, well, now all of a sudden I don't feel the same way about Batman going up against Superman, because he was literally manipulated by Lex Luthor. So what that he goes up against Superman? I mean, he was manipulated. The movie makes me feel that if it was up to Batman, he would have never gone up against Superman if it wasn't for Lex doing the behind the scenes plotting things. So that leads me to the last things. Folks, it wasn't just Batman that had a problem with Superman. It was Superman that had a problem with Batman. And so that's the other problem with the plot. The plot needs Superman to join with Batman, or try to join with Batman, in order to fight Doomsday in the end. That's what the plot needs. But in order to do that, you have to solve the other problem that you created in this screenplay. You did not have to have in this screenplay Superman wanting to go up against Batman or investigating Batman. You could have dropped that entire plot line. And I'm not saying you had to drop that entire plot line, but what I'm saying is the fact that they introduced that plot line, that Superman is investigating Batman, that he wants to go up against Batman. They introduce him confronting Batman. The fact that you did that, you have to wrap that up. You can't just go from literally the last time you see him telling him the bat is dead to the next time you see him without anything progressing in between, that, I have to convince him to help me. So it was just completely ridiculous that they had that change like a snap of a finger. Completely ridiculous. And here's the fourth problem that I had about the plot. And that is this. The fourth major issue is the Martha scene. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of people hate the Martha scene, including me. But I think for me, I want to be very clear about what I hate about the Martha scene. I'm not actually upset about the fact that they share the same name, and then he says save Martha and all of this other stuff, because what they're showing is that the entire time Bruce Wayne was filtering Superman as this alien other, right? And having the idea that, okay, this guy has a mom, and then not only does he have a mom, his mom happens to share the same name as my mom. I get Bruce Wayne, a kind of running that through in his mind, and his emotions are skyrocketing. I get that, because it forced Superman to be humanized in Batman's eyes, right? He's no longer this thing that needs to be destroyed. He's a person who has people that love and care about him, right? And it wasn't just the idea of him saying the name of his mom and him and Batman recognizing that, he has a mom, he has people that care about him, but it was the presence of Lois Lane herself, over Superman. He is visually seeing, this guy has people that care about him. So it kind of woke Batman up. So I get what they were going for. Here is the problem. It was not set up well at all. At all. Because in this movie, the theatrical version, you only have 2 times that Batman and Superman are going up against each other. Or rather, that they see each other. Other than that, we don't have any interactions between the two. And so if you want to set up a turn between these two individuals where both of them are going to tag team and go up against Lex Luthor, if you're going to set that up, you need more in between encounters between the two that will actually build up on their relationship, where they would start to understand one another, so where by the time you get to the Martha scene, there's a better payoff. But as it stands, there are no such scenes. And so with that, it feels completely disjointed. I had to look deep. I had to journey inward and figure out that that's what Batman was up to, knowing that he has a mother, humanized Superman. But the problem is that the movie doesn't really, there's no writing around that scene that boosts it. So as it stands, it doesn't make sense. It's lazy writing, completely lazy writing. Why? Because who says the name of their mom? Nobody. You wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. If your mom was in peril, which, by the way, the fact that she was in peril was ridiculous in itself. I mean, how many times, as I said, that Lois Lane was saved by Superman, that Superman sensed that Lois was in danger. Like she has like some kind of danger sense or whatever, that Superman can just be there right at the snap of a finger, but somehow he can't do that for his mom. I mean, come on. That's just ridiculous. Whatever. It just, there's lazy writing with that. But here's the thing. You couldn't think of another way other than to have Superman say, "Save Martha." What are you doing? Who does that? You would say in that situation, "Save my mom. Save my mom. My mom's in danger." You wouldn't say the name of your mom. Like, come on, no one does this. It was just ridiculous. They could not think of another way to have that scene play out other than to have him say, "Save Martha," in order to trigger Batman. Just completely ridiculous. So, to me, that look, I know I went really long on the screenplay because, man, there's so many things that I had a problem. There was so much promise because one of my concerns was the storytelling, and the screenplay just did not really give me a good story. I was very, very disappointed. So that was the down. Listen, the all around is this. Overall, I love the premise. I love that it takes place in the world of the Man of Steel. And I love all of those things. You got Batman and Superman going up against each other. That was great. But the way that I would sum up the screenplay is lazy writing. It really disappointed in so many different ways. I mean, you have Lois, and I don't want to just talk about Lois again, because here's the thing. You have... Give me an example of lazy writing. You have the kryptonite spear that Batman was about to drive in the heart of Superman. Lois stops him from doing that. Batman goes and, saves, Superman mom and all of that stuff. And then Lois doesn't know what to do with the kryptonite spear. So she tosses it in some water for whatever reason. And the doggone thing glows, Lois. I mean, come on. Like, again, just ridiculousness. Only to later have to go back to get that kryptonite spear, which, by the way, I don't know why she would even think to go get the kryptonite spear. It's not like she knew that, that Doomsday, that monster, was previously Zod. So for whatever reason, she knew to go get the kryptonite spear. But she goes back to go get the kryptonite spear only to be trapped in the water while getting the kryptonite spear so that she could be saved by Superman yet again. Lazy writing. Again, another way to lazy writing when I talked about Lex Luthor's force intelligence. I mean, come on. The fact that he somehow knew that he can go into the Kryptonian ship with Zod and then get Zod's body, and somehow he knew how to access the ship. And for whatever reason, he just knew that he needed to cut his hand and make blood in order to do and put Zod in the water in order to make him. It was dumb. It was completely dumb. There's no reason why Lex Luthor should have known any of those things. Or if there is a reason, how about the screenplay give us those reasons, right? Because we didn't get those reasons. So it was lazy writing, completely lazy writing. Anyway, I have been long on this slice of the pie. So I'm going to go ahead. Look, guys, what did you think about the screenplay? I have so much that I can say. I have so much that I have said. But what did you think about the screenplay? Did you like it? Did you really not like it like me? Go ahead and put the comments in the section below. But in the meantime, I'm going ahead and give this slice, the screenplay, a score and a verdict. And for this slice, it gets 16%, scoring 3.5 out of 22 points. And that means it is a terrible screenplay. Peace in, my friend. You just finished watching a segment of a Movie Pie episode. If you liked it, give me an up. And click right here where you might enjoy another segment, or if it takes your fancy, click right here to enjoy a full episode while I enjoy a cup of coffee. Or is that tea? It's better anyway.